Please remember to like, subscribe and comment, as we love to hear back from our viewers. Also, if you enjoy our videos, please consider becoming a patron of our show through Patreon and or GoFundMe. Links are listed below the video in the description. From the deepest, darkest recesses of Dangerous Nerds headquarters, Keith Moncrief and Gerry Kissell.
Hey guys, it's another happy Saturday morning with Pop Culture Minefield. That's Keith.
And that's Gerry.
He's hiding over there, kind of off camera.
Hiding.
He's typing up shit.
I'm typing up all kinds of stuff, helping to prepare for this show.
Let's turn the camera just a little bit. And basically, he spent a day over at the Comic Cave.
Comic Cave and Nameless City.
And made some nice connections. You want to shout out to any of the guys?
I just want to shout out really to those particular businesses, the people that work there, and everybody that actually goes to visit a comic book shop. Because if you're not, you should be.
Yeah, because if you're not, you're part of the reason why they're going out of business all the time. So, anyway, yeah, I know I'm what is it called? Fan blaming? I've become Lucasfilm and Star Trek CBS.
You know, having a nice place to actually go to and call your nerd home, like a good comic book shop, really just explain it this way. If you happen to have a spouse that doesn't understand, just call it your adult daycare.
That's called divorce, too. Run away. If they don't support your stuff, go away. The sex, I don't care how awesome it is, it's not worth it. I've successfully divorced 3 women because they didn't understand what it was like to marry an artist. They thought it was so cool. Oh, dude, an artist. And then, of course, they find out what it's like living with an artist. And then they're like, what time are you coming to bed? I'm like, I will come to bed when I'm done drawing or painting.
The muses are still speaking, honey.
You don't spend enough time with me. All you do is your art. And insane.
And the lawyer.
I was so good at it. I was so proficient that the last time I did it, my stepson and my friends all helped me move out while they were gone to Disney World and had the divorce papers on the door. And I pulled out as they were pulling in, coming back from Florida. And I just stared straight ahead. I just left.
And the envelope said, bye-bye.
Yeah. It's like, just sign these. We're done. And that was it. I never talked to her again. Wow. I don't even wonder how she's doing. It's like, all I care about is my kid, man. My daughter. I wanted her happy. And she was not happy in that relationship. So, but anyway, I wanted to bring up something while he does his typing. I wanted to bring up some cool stuff that we need to get some more people involved with helping us, because I would like to eventually move into an actual studio rather than my art studio. So there is stuff like this that you could be getting. And this is one of my art prints.
What's it called?
This one is the Battle at Narendra 3. I'll hold it back up again.
Yeah. There. Angle. There.
There. Okay.
Look at that. Look at the color on that. You want this.
Yeah.
You want this.
This is 16 by, I think, 20. I have 18 by 24 art prints up on the wall there. That's from the movie Kecksburg, coming out this, I think, towards the end of this year. It's a sci-fi story based on the real case of the Kecksburg UFO. And I'm also a producer on the film. But I did the poster art for it. There's several posters, but this is my favorite. And of course, I'm the artist for the movie Warpath by Josh Becker, and that's my movie poster. And all my posters are available. We're going to make them available to you guys to help contribute to what we're doing here. And for those of you who contribute at least $15 a month through Patreon, I will make sure to get you my 11 by 17 art prints as much as possible. You know, would it be 30 days? Should I do it every 30 days?
Every 30
Send you an
days.
art print. I can't guarantee it'll be 11 by 17 on all of them. It might be an 8.5 by 11 But I have a lot of prints because I do cons for some of the artwork I do, and I'd be glad to do that. And of course, I guess I should throw up a graphic at some point to show some of those art prints. But those will be gifts from us to you for contributing to the show, and we would deeply appreciate it.
Yes, we would.
And of course, if you guys want to commission me to do something, you're always welcome to do that, and you can do it through our Patreon. That way, it goes to the show. Shirts. Oh my God. I don't have my shirt on. Do you have your shirt on? We don't have our shirts on. I'm sorry, Deanna. That's my girlfriend. She and her family owns an amazing t-shirt print shop, and they print us up some t-shirts. Actually, there's one right there inside that box. If you want to,
let me get it.
He's going to grab one of the t-shirts so we can show you. And these shirts are
good.
Are they 20 or 25?
I thought it was 25.
I think it is 25. These are $25. These are silk screened by hand. And I'll grab a small here. This is a small.
It's the logo to the show.
That's good. You have your Pop Culture Minefield shirt. Looky. And plus on our store that we have, also same logo on a hoodie. So basically, I'm going to start making these things available through the video and put the links down below. I won't do it this morning, but I'll do it first of the week. But basically, I want to put the seed in your ear, and you guys can be getting something for also helping us. And I'm always happy to accept money. I mean, always happy to give. I know I'm a dick. To give away art prints, to people willing to do it. Now, you can give as little as $1 to the show and be a regular patron. That's awesome. And we'll make stuff available to you digitally. But if you are $10 or more a month on Patreon, I will actually send you some art prints. So, hey man, getting some art and you're helping us do our show and get out of my art studio and get into a real studio and stuff. And he can get a better partner because I suck.
He's so good.
So anyway, so what are we going to talk about today?
Today
it's Saturday morning, and I kind of wanted to start a new trend.
Yeah.
Which was talking about our favorite thing about Saturday mornings.
Yes.
Which is watching cartoons or the TV shows from our childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a special time growing up when we grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it all ended in the 90s. And what happened was, I'm trying to remember all of it, but part of it was that the government stepped in, but a lot of that happened because moms were complaining that shows were either violent, and so we would see the truncating and editing of Tom and Jerry cartoons in particular.
And then almost too much of a tie. They also were complaining about the fact that the commercialization of cartoons. The
commercialization, because cartoons were G.I. Joe, anything from Hasbro was promoted toy.
Yeah.
Well, what? I'm sorry, I'm going to cuss. What the fuck is wrong with that? Because kids want to be part of the cartoon, and buying the toys allowed us to be a part of those cartoons.
Yeah.
Now, agreed, I grew up when G.I. Joe was 12 inches tall.
Yeah.
And the reason why the little ones look so small is because they were squished from 12 inches. You look angry too. But still, I understood kids wanting to play with G.I. Joe, and we had the Star Wars figures since I was a kid, and we had lots of toys.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember the Buck Rogers toys for the TV series.
Yeah.
But on Saturday mornings, we had a lot of entertainment. And Saturday morning was a big thing to like my siblings and me. Well, the ones close to my age. And because there are 7 of us. And so I think there were only really 3 of us that watched Saturday morning entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd get a big salad bowl or a mixing bowl, and you'd pour about half a box of cereal into that thing and pour half of a half a gallon, so a quart of milk into that. And we would sit in front of the TV with a big old wood spoon or serving spoon, just eating and watching cartoons. And like in Phoenix, when I was growing up in Phoenix, Scooby-Doo came out. And I remember watching the premiere of that show.
Yep.
And it had such a huge impact on me. And what people don't understand is, these shows have an influence on people.
Mhm.
I am a very skeptical person. And I believe that Scooby-Doo helped form that because they taught you to be skeptical because there were never monsters or ghosts. It was always Old Man Tom or Old Man
Well,
Peters.
It caused you to be skeptical of old white men who actually own things and want to do stuff for money, including simulate certain things.
Because everybody knows black people aren't greedy. Ever.
Just saying, we were smarter, we didn't get caught. But that's a different story for another time.
That's right.
But look, as far as Saturday morning cartoons go, everybody has what they like. So my big question to you and everyone else out there is, what was that one cartoon that was just something that you could not have done without while growing up? What was that one really good one?
For me, as a little kid, Herculoids, which I have them all on that computer. I watch, sometimes I go to sleep watching the Herculoids. I bought the DVD, and so I could have all of the episodes.
Wow.
And now, sadly, I also bought all of the Frankenstein Jr. cartoons with the Incredibles, or whatever they were called. I didn't like them. They were too cartoony looking superheroes, Spring Guy, and just never liked them. But I loved Frankenstein Jr. But then I watched it and I was like, why did I like this? It's not very good at all. Why did it? And when I was a kid, it just seemed so much more monumentally better than it really was. And that's the problem with watching something you loved as a kid as an adult. Like Chevy Chase in that movie he did with Goldie Hawn, the first one, where he's a cop.
Oh, yeah.
Dudley Moore's first movie appearance.
Yeah.
And my God, I loved that movie as a kid. And then I made the mistake of watching it as an adult, and I was like, "Oh, this is really bad. This is not a very good film at all." And I wished I'd never watched it because now I don't have the same feeling I used to have about the film. So you got to be careful. There's a fine line.
I can do you one better. All of my answer is wrapped up in all of that. Mine was Super Friends because it's
it's the first iteration of the Justice League.
Yeah. 1973. Everybody was watching that show. Everybody.
Nine seasons, right?
No, more than that.
I think it was only 9 seasons all the way up to the 1980s. Did they do more after the 80s? I don't recall.
Yeah.
So I stopped watching cartoons in the morning in the 80s. Occasionally with my son.
I think the final episode of Super Friends, or at least anything even related to that, was 1986.
Now, they're all available on DCU.
Yeah.
And I have been watching them.
Yeah. Because it goes from Super Friends to all the different, and I think the final one was like DC Powers or Challenge of the Super, one of those
Challenge of the Super Friends, it's on there too.
Yeah.
I enjoyed all of them. Really bad writing, but fun.
It was fun. That was really what it was. The feeling of it, and the fact that all these comic book characters that you were used to reading were now suddenly live and in front of your eyes. But the thing is that as you get older, you realize just how bad that writing was.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. But going in the same vein, in the 70s, we had, I think it was 77. They did the animated New Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
And they got Adam West and Burt Ward to...
I think that was Filmation.
Was that Filmation?
I think so.
I wouldn't be surprised because it's the Filmation style. And the music, too.
Yeah.
Very Filmation. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go online, YouTube, and look up Filmation animation music. And they have a very distinct sound. And the way they did the music. Now, a lot of times those samples would be shared between shows. You go, wait a minute, I recognize that cue. That's from another show. Shazam was a notorious one for using cues, too, from a lot of the animation shows.
It was a way of saving money. I mean, a lot of people were doing it because creating cartoons and doing all that stuff is expensive.
Because I caught a music cue from Star Trek, the animated series, on Shazam.
Yeah.
And it was clearly the same music. It was, what do you call it? Incidental music.
Yes.
And incidental music is stuff that's like segue moments in a film, or something just playing in the background as you come into a scene, and then it fades out. And that you would get that with Gilligan's Island was notorious for that, because John Williams, that's where he really got his start. Was he didn't write the theme to Gilligan's Island, he did all the incidental music for the episodes.
Yeah.
And so if you go listen to music of Gilligan's Island while watching the show, the music during the show, that's Johnny Williams, as he went by back then. But Saturday morning is something that I think we should have some fun with. And like right now, we're just sort of talking about all of them. But the fact is I think we should dedicate every Saturday morning to like a favorite show.
Yeah.
That we grew up watching. And, so this week we're not going to do that. We're just going to simply talk about some of the stuff. What was something else that you enjoyed on Saturday mornings?
Oh, for me, it was just a lot of the reruns of cartoons that were out before, we were born. Because Johnny Quest was 1964 and they were still running.
Yeah, I was a baby when that came out. And they only got one season of that, which always shocked me because it was such a hit.
Yeah. And then you had, what I found out was there were certain cartoons that were revived. And sometimes they would reanimate or would add more things to it. I remember the Lone Ranger cartoon that came out in the 70s. Turns out
that was in the 60s.
That they had another,
because I watched it in the 60s. Lone Ranger and Tonto.
Another iteration from the same company.
In fact, it was on at the same time as the Herculoids.
Yep.
Because I remember the way we would know that a show was going to be coming on Saturdays, they would advertise in comic books. And you would get this whole splash page of all the different shows that were going to be on this coming, this month on CBS, this month on NBC. And it was really kind of cool. And you get this big splash page of all these different things. And I remember when I saw the first ad for the Herculoids, and on that page was the Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
That's my endemic memory.
Yeah.
Did I say the word right this time?
You're closer.
Okay.
You're closer.
I cannot pronounce that fucking word.
Endemic.
That's it. I did it. So I have that weird photo memory because I can actually remember physically where things were on a page.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
You know what, though? A lot of good cartoons, a lot of different companies. For me, it was watching how many different cartoons that were actually based on primetime entertainment. You have the Brady kids got their own cartoon. Lassie got her own cartoon. You had
Emergency.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And they called it Emergency 51, and that was a cartoon
based on
the show Emergency. Yeah. I loved it, and they got the actors to come back and play the characters on the show. I remember watching that damn thing. I was a big addict. It's why I became a paramedic.
Yeah,
it's why I got in the medical field at all, was because of that show, Emergency. And it really inspired me. Because when I was a kid, I predicted I was going to do 3 things, and I did all 3 things. That I was going to become a paramedic.
Yeah.
That I was going to go in the Army at some point.
Yeah.
And I was going to be a professional artist.
Look at you.
Yep. And I did all 3.
I can actually still eat cereal in front of the cartoon, so
I would do it now if it weren't for the diabetes. The diabetes would kill me. Although, one of my friends, Katie, she shared with me on my page that there is, I think it was Katie, one of my friends shared on my page on Facebook, there's a new cereal out that has a sweet version and the non-sweet versions for diabetics. Low carb, very keto friendly. And I'm like, get the hell out of here. And I went and looked up. They're super expensive. But I'm so going to buy some because I haven't enjoyed real breakfast cereal in a long time. I occasionally have grape nuts. And I got to watch my carb intake, because of the diabetes. And I was talking to Graham and all those guys on our comic book artist group.
Yeah.
And I went off on a whole Wilford Brimley rant about how much I love him, and then a bunch of like Barry jumped in there with me. Branscombe, hey Barry, he jumped in there with me talking about our favorite Wilford Brimley things. But I said I'm such a Wilford Brimley fan. I even got the diabetes, and I spelled it that way, diabetes, just so I could be just like him.
Oh wow! All you kids under the age of 30, you're missing out. Just Wilford Brimley. Just look him up.
He's still alive.
Yeah,
that guy's still kicking. My God, he did a series in the '90s with Richard Farnsworth, The Boys of Twilight. Did you ever see that show?
No, I didn't.
It was a modern Western, and they got one season. I would get on the phone with my dad, and we would talk and watch the show, because my dad was a big Wilford Brimley and Richard Farnsworth fan too. And of course, we lost Richard in the early 2000s to cancer. And but those two in real life, Wilford and Richard, were close friends, because Richard came up doing stunts in westerns.
Wow, I did not know that.
Worked with John Wayne and shit like that. And so one day somebody says, you should get in front of the camera and act. And so he started late in life. He was in his 50s, the first time he was ever acted in a movie.
Wow.
And I think it was in the 80s, because like he was in Jeff Goldblum's movie Into the Night.
That's
with Michelle Pfeiffer. Favorite film of all time. One of them. Not the, but one of them. And I love that movie. It was really the end of John Landis's run as a director, because his career was already dead. It really was. But he squeaked out one more film. Well, because of the Twilight Zone, what happened there. I mean, it permanently blotted his career. But he got at least one more good film with Jeff Goldblum, Michelle Pfeiffer, and of course,
great music videos that came out of that movie. Into the Night has 3 really good music videos that they have. All 3 are on YouTube, so go check them out.
And if you haven't seen that film, do it, because it's got David Bowie in it. He plays the part of an assassin, hitman.
Yeah, and who does he go up against in this big fight scene?
Oh, Jeff Goldblum. No, wait, who?
His big fight scene.
I don't remember.
70s glam rocker versus 50s singer-songwriter.
Jerry. Oh, no. Carl.
Perkins.
Yes. I forgot he's in the movie. He's the security guy. Fuck. Oh, my God. I just got goosebumps. Look at that. Goosebumps. Carl Perkins versus David Bowie. That's right. Well, the other great part of that is the entire fight is choreographed to all these different TVs in the apartment with Abbott and Costello versus the killer.
That's right.
I mean, Landis was a genius in his day, and it sucks what happened to him, because just little tangent here. Landis, I mean, yeah, he holds a bit of culpability for what happened.
Yes.
To those kids and to Vic Morrow. But the fact is the person who was truly guilty there was the person pressuring him to work those hours.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg, which is when I began to not be such a big fan of his. I started disliking him as a person, because he was like, he got away scot-free. Wow. And he's the one that was pressuring Landis to work those hours.
Wow, I did not know that one.
Go back and read it. I used to read Starlog and all those magazines. Wow. And they would talk about it, and I mean, it's a devastating incident, and there's no question he holds culpability in that as well. But Spielberg got away scot-free on that, and he was as guilty as anybody, because he was the executive producer, hammering him all the time. Where's my shots? What's going on? You need to speed up production. And so they made a bad decision, and it cost Vic Morrow and those 2 children their lives.
Yeah, that was awful. I think various people have, seen that footage. I haven't seen the uncut footage. But
I have a stomach for stuff like that, because I worked in the medical field, so I've seen just the most disgusting shit you'll ever see. And I watched the footage, and it's disturbing. And it is what I refer to as one of the handful of modern snuff films that's legally viewable. And it's rough to watch. And it's not one of my things. Don't go watch it. There's no reason to. You can't really. If you're morbid and weird, you're gonna go look it up right now. But the fact is, if you're a normal person, you're just curious. Don't. It's not worth it. It's not clear. It's not the best footage.
You'd be better off watching the Joe Theismann football accident.
I watched that live.
Me too.
And they kept playing it over and over and over again when it aired.
Whoa.
And I'm like, oh my god!
It's supposed to be that way.
It's crazy backwards. Ah.
Yeah. Even as bad as that was, I would still.
We were kids when that happened.
Yeah.
Still, I was in my 20s. You would have been in your teens.
Yeah.
But
that's still better to watch than the Vic Morrow footage.
Yeah, Vic Morrow and those two kids dying is. I wish they would find the master copy of it and just delete it. It's not something anybody needs to watch, and it's even for the morbidly curious. It doesn't show you anything, and you don't gain anything from it. And personally, I think it hurts his daughter, who is still acting. She was in Dolores Claiborne.
Mm-hmm.
What is her name? I just forgot it. Single white female with Bridget Fonda.
Oh,
I cannot remember her name.
she was in The Wall.
Yeah, I can't think of her name. Anyway, that young actress, who's not young anymore, she's about my age. She, wow, she was in Hateful Eight.
Yes, she was.
And she was really good in that too, by the way. She's one of the best parts of that damn movie. And Kurt Russell doing his John Wayne impression again was really good too. It's like, that is not Kurt Russell playing Kurt Russell in a Western. That's Kurt Russell again playing John Wayne, because he did it in Big Trouble in Little China. And I caught it. I'm like, oh, he's doing John Wayne again. Yeah. The whole take that and you're gonna get away with that, partner. I'll shoot you full of holes. And that's, kind of what Kurt Russell does again. I love Kurt Russell. He's like my absolute number one favorite actor of all time. And he's in, two of my top 5 favorite films of all time. He's in The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
And no, he's in 3 of them. Big Trouble in Little China and Escape from New York are in my top 5. And then you have the 2 Ridley Scott films.
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Jennifer Jason Leigh. That's it. And I always felt bad. She got an undetermined amount.
Yeah.
In settlement with the studio for the death of her father.
Mm-hmm.
But she made good use of it. If you read about her life sometime, pick it up and see what she did with that money. Very smart woman, gifted actress, just like her dad. Her dad was an amazing actor. I remember him in the TV series Combat.
Yep.
Which, oddly, again, was a Saturday morning show for me, because when it went into reruns, it was often aired late Saturday mornings. But Saturday morning ended. How did it end for you?
You mean, for me...
It would start early in the morning, about 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it would go to about
noon.
11 o'clock to noon.
Yeah.
And for me, there was always one specific thing that would happen.
Well, for me, it would just be, when I was younger, it would be just going into a lot of the PBS shows in that area, where you could go from the cartoons to watching a lot of the PBS shows.
Right.
Now, when my family moved to this area, it became more about sports. So,
Yeah, sports was usually a big signature that it was over.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the sign. You got your sign. Sports started, cartoons were over. Like with my dad, he would come in and he called it the clicker. You'd hit the clicker and flip it over to ABC or NBC to watch sports. But the big sign for me as a little kid growing up in Phoenix was Creature Feature. The noon Creature Feature. And then in Virginia, that came on at night with Dick Dizell, who was a friend of mine. I love him. He was also Captain 20 for us that grew up in Virginia. But before the age of 9, I was in Phoenix. And we had Creature Feature on at noon.
Wow.
So the cartoons would end and go straight into a monster movie. And I loved that.
I should have had something like that, but I didn't.
Oh, now, see, if you were in Ohio, they did. But wait a minute. No, he didn't come on until 11 at night.
Yeah.
Your Creature Feature wasn't on until 11 at night.
Yeah.
So I used to pay attention to all the different horror hosts.
Yeah, it's you got your Friday night ones. I like the Saturday night stuff because that would be Houlihan and Big Chuck. and later on Little John, who would do comedy and have their own little bits and just it's just great stuff. See, thinking about that just
There you go.
it takes me back.
But
let's bring this back around to Saturday morning cartoons.
yeah, well, we can end it now because basically next Saturday we will actually talk about two of his favorite and one of my favorites, and we will talk about those.
Yeah.
And that'll be next Saturday. And every Saturday from this point forward, we're going to talk about Saturday morning cartoons and Saturday morning shows until we run out of things to talk about, and then we'll find something new. But until then, this is Pop Culture Minefield with Keith
and Gerry,
and we're out of here. Y'all take care. Bye now. Y'all come back now. You hear?